Welcome to Medicare Unscripted. I'm Kalei Trbovich, Director of Medicare Operations at Secure Money Health. This podcast is designed to help you make sense of Medicare in a way that actually feels clear, practical, and relevant to real life. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not affiliated with or endorsed by the federal Medicare program. The truth is, Medicare isn't something most people fully understand until they're in the middle of it. And by then, mistakes can be very, very expensive. On this show, I'm going to walk you through real situations, common misunderstandings, and the things that happen behind the scenes that most people are never told until it's too late. In each episode, we'll break down what's happening, what it actually means for you, and how to avoid becoming the next preventable problem. My goal is simple: to help you feel confident in your decisions, understand your options, and make sure your healthcare plan actually aligns with your life. So let's get into it. All right, I'm going to start with a real-life scenario to put this into perspective for you. Imagine you're heading to the airport for a long-awaited vacation. You packed everything, your outfits are planned, your hotel is booked, your ride is scheduled, and you arrive at the airport feeling completely prepared. And then you get to the gate and you realize you never printed your boarding pass. You assumed it would just be there. Now you're standing there stressed, watching the clock, and hoping you don't miss your flight. That situation right there is exactly what Medicare feels like for so many people turning 65 or looking to retire. People plan for everything else. They plan their retirement income, what their lifestyle is going to look like, what trips they're going to take, but they don't secure the boarding pass, which is proper Medicare enrollment. When something medical happens, the plane does not wait. So let's break down what the boarding pass actually means when it comes to Medicare. It's timing, and it's crucial you enroll at the right time. This includes when to enroll in your Part A and Part B, coordinating your employer coverage correctly, understanding your special enrollment period, confirming your effective dates. Because here's the mistake most people make. They assume they will automatically be enrolled in Medicare, which is a myth. When someone retires thinking everything is set and then realizes they don't actually have coverage, that creates a coverage gap, which means your savings are on the hook for things like doctor and outpatient coverage, any surgeries, MRIs, prescription drugs, and chemo. So people spend their whole lives working, and when it's time to retire, you're thinking about the golfing with friends, taking that big cruise, or even going on a trip to Disney with the grandkids. And that's exactly where that money should be spent, not paying for things like medical bills. All right, let's clear up a common misunderstanding and play a round of myth or mistake. A game where I break down quotes and questions to tell you whether they are a myth or mistake. So here it is. Medicare just kicks in automatically when I retire. Again, that is a myth. Medicare eligibility at 65 does not mean automatic enrollment. It actually depends on a lot of factors, such as whether you are actively collecting Social Security, if you actively enroll yourself, or if you're still covered by your employer. Again, Medicare is not passive. It requires proper timing and proper planning. Now let's talk about why we're seeing this happen more often. People are not retiring at 65 like they used to, and that's where a lot of confusion is coming from. So traditionally, you turn 65, you leave your job, and you start Medicare. But today, that timeline has changed a lot. People are now working longer, some are living longer and need their savings to last, and with recent changes that we've seen in Social Security, some are delaying their withdrawals to increase their monthly benefit. Also, many employers are offering flexible retirement options instead of a hard cutoff, which we've seen in the past. So now people are easing into retirement instead of stopping it all at once. But again, here's the problem. Medicare does not automatically adjust to that new timeline. So understanding when to enroll, how to coordinate your employer coverage, and when you can delay is one of the most important parts of Medicare planning today. Because transitions are where mistakes happen. Whether you're turning 65, whether you're retiring, losing employer coverage, or even moving, that is when people typically forget their boarding pass. So here's a question we get all the time from our clients. They say, I'm retiring in 3 months. When should I apply for Part B? And it's a great question. So ideally, you want to start the process about 2 to 3 months before your employer coverage ends. The month after your employer coverage ends is when you would need your Part B to become effective. So this would prevent any coverage gaps, delays, late enrollments, and penalties that would stick with you for life. You would not show up to the airport the day of your trip without checking in. And Medicare works the same way. Preparation is absolutely everything. So let's come back to the airport story. The traveler was not irresponsible. They just assumed the system would work itself out. And that is exactly what happens in Medicare every single day. So here's the preventable problem for this week. If you're within 6 months of turning 65 or retiring, please schedule a Medicare timing review. This is not a sales meeting. This is about making sure you understand your timeline, your responsibilities, and what all of your options are. Think of it as making sure your boarding pass is ready before you get to the gate. Because in Medicare, when you miss timing, the consequences can follow you for years. Thank you for being here for the very first episode of Medicare Unscripted. If this helped you, share it with a friend or someone who is approaching 65. You can also visit our website at securemoneyhealth.com for more information. Thanks. We'll see you next time.